tough in the sense that like you had to be on your game. There was no script there. And if you remember, it was Chelsea, who is as sharp as they come. And then there was always three different comics on that round table. And Chelsea would throw out the topic and we would get them about an hour and a half before the show, what the topics were. So I would sit there and think like, what is my point of view on this? What is my take? And quickly on, I realized I'm like, these people are funnier than me. You know what I mean? But what none of them have and they can't compete with is my point of view. I'm a very specific person, you know, and the way I see the world is so different from the way that they're going to see the world. So I never tried to be funnier than them. I couldn't, but I could certainly carve out my lane. And so while they were on the table and Chelsea, they were sort of assassinating pop culture. You know what I mean? They were like, I'd be the one on the end being like, okay, yeah, but I kind of love Jessica Simpson because, you know what I mean? And it was like, right away, my voice was different. Not my actual voice, which was different, but my POV and my voice was different, and it worked, you know. And so, but you had to be sharp, you had to be aggressive, because these comics knew that we had 22 minutes of television, and you better elbow your way in and make the most of it. So, you know, you had to be aggressive, and it was tough.
Did you feel that? Because, you know, like I've talked to a lot of people like that were on Saturday Night Live, like they say, yeah, like, you know, it was a different thing, but like, it sounded like similar to Chelsea, where like, you're right, you had to fight to get airtime, I guess.
Yeah, it wasn't about getting aired. Well, I guess it was about getting rebooked. You know, there was never a guarantee. If you had a couple lackluster roundtables, you know, it's not like we had a contract. The phone would just not ring, and rightfully so. You know, you have to deliver. You have to. I'm not critiquing Chelsea or the production, but I think we all felt the pressure of like, it could be a make or break kind of thing.
Wow. What did you learn from her? Like, if you just think like, you had to pick one thing.
Well, I think I learned that I was funny enough to be there, because I tell the story on episode 1 of Hello Ross that the first time I did it, I'm not an aggressive person like that. You know, I mean, my nature is not to be aggressive, I should say. And so that first roundtable, I didn't say anything because I'm like, well, when's my turn? And she asked me back on it, and I remember emailing her, like, I don't think it's for me. And she said, you're funnier than you think. And then when I got in there and I elbowed my way in and made a joke that next time, she turned to me and said, somebody's coming into his own. And I think maybe she taught me I deserved a seat at the table, you know, among many things. But that's one big thing she taught me.
And that's a huge compliment. Like when you barely say anything and Chelsea's like, you're funnier than you think.
Well, we had hung out a lot. You know, we had been on tour together. We had laughed and gotten drunk in hotel beds with chicken fingers. And she knew I was funny and that I could hang, you know. It's even on Leno in those days. Like when I talk about showing a sliver of who you are, they showed a specific sliver of who I am, but I'm also filthy and hilarious and raunchy and all of that stuff. And all the things I get to be now, you know? And she saw all of that. So she saw more than I did that I deserved, like I said, a seat at the table.
Well, talking about stressful, like, I mean, you have hosted so many red carpets. I mean, a lot with Eve, like, you know, with Juliana and Kelly, like, is that stressful? Is because I have friends in that aspect of the business. I in my own made up story is that it's stressful. Is it stressful when you're standing there?
It's not stressful to me at all. No, this is what I'm good at. You know, there's a producer in your ear. You are live on television, so you're communicating with the audience. I'm a born multitasker, so I like getting multiple things done at once. So I'm just setting the scene. You're live. You're talking to the audience. You're setting the scene for them, the atmosphere, what's going on. And at any point, any celebrity, whether they're a nominee or not, can walk up behind you, and you need to be prepared. And I'm not talking about holding a card with facts that someone else wrote down for you. You need to have a encyclopedic knowledge of celebrities. So when they come up, you pull out your inner card and you know what to ask them, what their project is, what their last project is, what's the rumored for next, who they're rumored to be dating, what they will not talk about. You need to know all of that. And meanwhile, while you're doing that, a producer's in your ear telling you who's coming up next. So you're talking to the eyes at home, you're talking to the celebrity in front of you, and you're thinking about what you're going to do next all at the same time. And I loved it. I thrived on it.
What's your astrological sign?
I'm a Libra, but the first day of Libra.
I mean, I'm a Gemini, and I mean, multitasking is like music to my ear. So I would just think
it was like such a high. And I remember leaving people, my mom would be like, who'd you talk to? And I'm like, oh my God, no clue. I just was like not present, you know, but it's like something was going on. It was really fun. And it's a unique thing to have done. at that level, because we were seen across the world on E. You know, everyone was watching E around the world.
Yeah. Have you ever had like just a total fuck up, like whether we knew it or not, where you're just like, oh my God, like,
Yeah, I am sure of it. I can't give you nothing like monumental. I remember we were on once. Oh God, I can't remember her name, who it was, but we were on once and somebody, I think she was a model, like fainted, you know what I mean? And I was like, hi, hi. And she was like falling on me. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna hold her up and we are gonna be right back with more live from the red carpet, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like that. And you just kind of had to deal with it. Someone told me when I first started TV with live TV, you just have to embrace the mistakes or you'll get caught lying to the audience. And I was like, I can do that.
wow. Have you ever, like, from a red carpet, just met a celebrity that you're like, wow, this person is just so much nicer or just much more gracious than like my own backstory kind of made up?
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. Most of them. Some of them are terrible, but most of them. I mean, the nicest I ever met on a red carpet was Gwyneth Paltrow. She was the nicest. You know, I taught in my first book, Man Up, which Gwyneth wrote the forward to. We tell the story about how I met her at my first Vanity Fair Oscar party, and I always wanted to be best friends with her. And I asked her, I said, will you be my best friend? And she had seen me covering the Olympics in Salt Lake. And she said, yes. And I gave her my email address and we emailed every day back and forth for 6 months. And in those times, you know, both of us lost our fathers. And it went from being like, oh my God, hello, 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 oh my God, to like real and trying to work through some stuff. And then, you know, we've been besties ever since. We went to lunch 6 months later and it was like, oh, I was like, is it really you that's writing me? And it really was her. And we still did this. I just texted her on her birthday. She texts back.
Do you ever have, because look, I mean, like now we're gonna get into like the Drew Barrymore show, and like, look, I mean, you've been in the business, you know everyone, but like, do you ever have these pinch me moments still, like where you're like, wait, I'm texting Gwyneth Paltrow or I'm friends, or no, celebrities are humans and you're just above all of that fanfare at this point?
No, I'm not above it. It has become like more normal, and with her specifically, like I've just known her forever that I don't think about it or like that. You know, with Drew, I see her every day. But I mean, when I first started with Drew 2.5 years ago, I was like, oh my, what is going on? Yeah, it was really weird. But um, it's different. It's different now. But I will tell you what does blow me away is like I told you, I'm having Sally Jesse Raphael on Hello Ross, and I don't know Sally Jesse Raphael. I don't know her. I've never met her. I've never spoken to her. But she's tweeted about me really nice things. And I tweeted, thank you. And we tweeted back and forth. And then I asked her to be on the show. So, like, the fact that, like, this afternoon, I'm going to be, like we are doing right now, a Zoom with Sally Jesse, who I used to, you know, watch and turn down when she would toss a commercial so I could toss a commercial for her. You know, I turned the volume down so I could say it. We'll be right back. More Sally on the way. You know, I loved that part of TV. And like now she knows who I am and is going to like, she has it written down on a schedule somewhere. Ross Mathews today at 4. Like, what? That blows me away.
I have actually had her on this podcast.
Tell me everything.
It's right. I mean, the same thing. It's like it happened through like it was a friend of a friend. Like I have a really good friend who knows. So it is just I was like, okay, let's make this happen. Yeah, you have moments where you're like, holy crap, like this is the real deal. And she is unfiltered, and she goes through this landscape of talk shows. Like she knows Drew, and